My girlfriend kicked me out so her ex could stay at our apartment. I quietly packed and left. 2 days later, she begged me to pick up the phone. I need to tell you something, she said, standing by the kitchen counter, arms crossed like she was bracing for impact. I was still half asleep, rubbing my eyes. What's wrong? Her tone was too steady. Ryan's coming to town for a week. I nodded slowly. Ryan? My ex, she said. He doesn't have a place to stay, so he'll be staying here. For a second, I thought I'd misheard her. Here? Like, our apartment? She avoided my eyes. Yeah. Just for a week. It's temporary. I laughed softly, thinking it was a joke. You're kidding, right? She sighed. Don't do that thing where you overreact. It's just a week. A week? I said. In the apartment I pay rent for? Her face tightened. Don't make it sound like that. Like what? I asked. Like the truth? She put her hands on her hips. You're being dramatic. It's not a big deal. He's just crashing here until he figures things out. I stared at her, waiting for her to crack, to smile, to tell me it was a test. But she didn't. Her expression stayed flat, almost bored. Emily, I said quietly, you're telling me your ex is going to live here for a week while I, sleep in my car? You can stay at Jake's, she said, like it was an easy solution. My best friend? I asked. You think that's fair? She shrugged. It's not forever. I just don't want to make things awkward for Ryan. He's going through a lot. I blinked, trying to process it. You don't want to make things awkward for him? Don't twist my words, she snapped. You always do that. Twist your words? I said, my voice breaking a little. You're asking me to leave the place I've been paying for, so your ex can sleep in our bed? Her silence hit harder than any scream could have. She just stood there, looking at me like she'd already moved on. I swallowed. How long have you been planning this? It's not planned, she said quickly. It just came up. Right, I muttered. And he just happens to need a place to stay the week you've been working late every night? She crossed her arms tighter. You're paranoid. This is exactly why I didn't want to tell you. You didn't want to tell me because it sounds insane, I said. She rolled her eyes. I can't have a normal conversation with you anymore. You turn everything into a fight. I'm not fighting, I said quietly. I'm just trying to understand. There's nothing to understand, she said coldly. It's my apartment too, remember? I nodded slowly. Yeah. Except I'm the one paying for it. She didn't respond. She just looked at the wall behind me, like she couldn't stand to see my face. So that's it, I said. You want me gone? I didn't say that, she said quickly. Yes, you did, I whispered. You just didn't use those words. The room felt smaller, the air thicker. I could hear the clock ticking behind her. I'm not arguing, I finally said. If that's what you want, fine. Her eyes flickered, maybe with guilt, maybe relief. So you're okay with it? No, I said. But I'll deal with it. I turned and walked to the bedroom. My hands shook as I opened the closet. The sound of hangers scraping metal felt louder than her silence. She hovered in the doorway. You don't have to do this right now. I do, I said, shoving clothes into a suitcase. Because if I don't, I'll start asking why I wasn't enough. She looked down. Don't make this harder than it is. I almost laughed. Harder than being replaced in my own home? She didn't answer. When I zipped the suitcase, she spoke again. It's just a week. I nodded. Then you won't notice I'm gone. As I wheeled my bag through the living room, I paused. The framed photos on the wall, our trip to Seattle, her birthday dinner, the first day we moved in, all stared back at me like ghosts. This place, I said softly, I thought it was ours. She turned away. Don't do this, please. I opened the door. I'm not doing anything. I'm just leaving. The hallway light flickered as I stepped out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't say goodbye. I just walked away, realizing something I should have seen long ago: it was never our apartment. It was always hers. And maybe, deep down, I was just the guest who stayed too long. I still remember the first time I saw her, sitting by the window of that little coffee shop near my office, tapping her spoon against the cup like she was keeping time with her thoughts. "Is this seat taken?" I'd asked, holding my coffee, pretending to be casual. She smiled without looking up. "Depends. Are you a talker or a reader?" I laughed. "Mostly a talker, but I can be quiet if the situation demands it." "Then it's taken," she said, grinning. That was Emily, sharp, teasing, impossible to ignore. We talked for an hour that first day. She told me she was a graphic designer. I told her I was an accountant, and she made a face like I'd said something tragic. "Numbers," she said. "That sounds painfully boring." "Painful, yes. Boring, sometimes." She laughed, that kind of laugh that makes strangers turn their heads. I remember thinking, if I can make her laugh again, maybe I'll matter to someone. A few weeks later, she texted, "Still boring?" I replied, "Less so when you text." We met again, and again after that. I learned she loved cinnamon in her coffee but hated mornings. She said my shirts were always too neatly ironed. "You look like you're scared of wrinkles," she teased. "I'm scared of bad impressions," I said. "Then stop trying so hard," she told me. "You're better when you're not perfect." It was that kind of honesty that pulled me in. She made me feel seen, even when she was mocking me. A year later, we were signing a lease together. She walked through the apartment, barefoot, spinning in the living room. "I can already see us here," she said. "Us," I repeated, smiling. "I like the sound of that." She looked back and grinned. "You'd better. You're paying most of it." It was a joke, or at least I thought it was. We built a life out of small things. Movie nights. Burnt pancakes on Sundays. Her half-finished art project scattered across the table. The way she'd fall asleep on my chest while I pretended to watch something important. For a while, everything felt easy. But little things started changing, so quietly I almost missed them. One night, she came home late, tossed her bag on the couch, and said, "Work's insane. I need a vacation." I handed her the mug I'd made. "You forgot your coffee this morning." She smiled, barely. "You're sweet." She didn't drink it. The cup sat untouched all night. The next day, she started locking her phone. When I asked, she shrugged. "Just being careful," she said. "You never know these days." "Careful about what?" I asked. "Nothing, relax," she replied, eyes still on her screen. I laughed it off, but something inside me twisted. A few nights later, while we watched TV, her phone buzzed again and again. She turned it face down. "Who's that?" I asked lightly. She smirked. "A friend." "Guy or girl?" She looked at me. "Why does it matter?" "It doesn't," I said, even though it did. "You're getting weird about this," she said. "Don't turn into one of those jealous boyfriends." "I'm not jealous," I said. "Just curious." "Well, stop being curious," she said. "It's annoying." I remember how she went back to scrolling, like the conversation never happened. Over time, we slowly became I'm meeting friends tonight. I'm working late. I need space. I'd ask, "Do you want me to come?" and she'd answer, "It's just easier if I go alone." At first, I believed her. She was busy. She was stressed. She needed air. Then one night, I woke up at midnight and noticed her side of the bed was empty. I called her, no answer. I texted, no reply. She came back around 2 a.m., smiling like she'd just won an argument I didn't know we were having. "Where were you?" I asked quietly. "Don't start," she said. "I told you I was out." "With who?" She threw her jacket on the chair. "You don't trust me anymore, do you?" "I'm trying to," I said. "Well, try harder," she snapped. I didn't say anything after that. The silence between us grew heavier than any fight could have been. I started noticing small things, the scent of a cologne that wasn't mine on her jacket, lipstick stains on cups I didn't drink from, laughter over the phone that stopped the moment I entered the room. I told myself it was nothing. People drift sometimes. Maybe I was overthinking. But the truth was simpler, she was already gone, and I was still pretending she wasn't. One morning, I made her coffee, black with cinnamon, just like the old days. She walked past it without a word. Hours later, it sat there, cold and untouched. That cup stayed on the counter for 3 days. I couldn't bring myself to throw it away. It was the last thing she ever left unfinished, before she started finishing me instead. "Hey," I said softly, setting the plates down. "Dinner's ready." She didn't look up from her phone. The blue light flickered on her face, cold against the warmth of the candles I'd lit. "Give me a sec," she muttered. I sat down across from her, the smell of pasta filling the silence. "It'll get cold." I said I'll eat. Her tone sliced through the air like glass. I nodded, forcing a small smile. "Rough day?" She sighed, setting the phone face down. "You wouldn't get it." "I'm trying to," I said. "That's kind of the point of talking." Her eyes flicked up. "You always make everything about you." I froze. "What?" "I just asked how your day was." "Exactly." She picked up her fork. "You always need to know everything, control everything. You can't just let me breathe." I didn't realize asking about your day was controlling. She rolled her eyes. "You twist everything." I leaned back, the weight of her words pressing on my chest. I miss when we used to talk. Remember when we'd stay up until 2 a.m., arguing about which movie to watch? That was before you stopped listening. I blinked. I stopped listening? Yeah. She stabbed at her pasta. You only hear what you want. I'm literally listening right now. Don't raise your voice. I'm not, I cut myself off. I lowered my tone. I'm not raising it. She pushed her chair back. You always get defensive. I watched her stand, her fork clinking against the plate. Emily, please sit. I made this for us. She hesitated, sighed, and sat back down. You don't have to do things to make me happy. I thought that's what people do when they love someone. She stared at me, her eyes flat. Love isn't supposed to feel like pressure. I swallowed hard. So now caring is pressure? See? You're twisting it again. My voice cracked slightly. Emily, I'm just trying to hold on here. You've been distant for weeks. You come home late, you barely talk, you keep your phone on silent. She interrupted sharply. You're paranoid. I'm concerned. Same thing with you. She stood again, grabbing her phone. Who are you talking to so much lately? I asked quietly. Wow. She let out a bitter laugh. You really don't trust me, do you? I want to. But you're giving me reasons to worry. You're impossible, she snapped. Ryan never made me feel like this. That name. It hit me like a punch. Ryan? She blinked, realizing what she'd said. I didn't mean. Yes, you did, I said. You compare me to him all the time. Ryan was spontaneous. Ryan was fun. Maybe you should have stayed with Ryan. She crossed her arms. Maybe I should have. Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. The candles flickered between us, shadows dancing across the untouched pasta. I stared at her, trying to find the girl I fell in love with, the one who used to trace circles on my arm while we talked about the future. Remember when we said this apartment would be our new start? I whispered. Now it feels like a place I'm renting from a stranger. Her expression softened, just a little. You're being dramatic. I'm being honest. She sighed, rubbing her temple. You take everything so seriously. Not every cold text or late night means I'm hiding something. Then what does it mean? It means I'm tired, okay, she said. Tired of explaining myself. Tired of feeling smothered. I looked at her carefully. Do you even want to be here anymore? She looked away. Don't do that. Do what? Make me the villain. I'm not, I said. I'm just trying to figure out where we went wrong. She picked up her wine glass, took a slow sip, and said quietly, maybe we stopped being right for each other. Those words stung worse than shouting ever could. So what are we then? I asked. She shrugged. Two people trying too hard to fix something that's already broken. My throat tightened. You talk like it's over. I'm talking like I'm tired of pretending it isn't. I stared down at my plate. The food had gone cold. I'd spent an hour cooking, thinking maybe a warm meal could warm the space between us. But the silence at that table screamed louder than any argument we'd ever had. I thought love meant fighting for each other, I said quietly. Sometimes, she replied, standing up again, it means knowing when to stop. I watched her walk to the living room, her footsteps soft against the floor. She picked up her phone, smiled faintly at whatever was on the screen, and sat down on the couch, facing away from me. The light from the TV reflected off her face. For a moment, I imagined the girl who once looked at me like I was her whole world. But now she was somewhere else, laughing at something I couldn't hear. I sat there, staring at the candle between us until it burned itself out, leaving nothing but the smell of smoke and the sound of her silence. I woke up to cold sheets. The clock read 2:07 a.m. The other side of the bed was empty, still indented where she had been. At first, I thought she was in the bathroom, but the apartment was silent. No running water. No footsteps. Just the faint hum of the fridge. Then her phone buzzed on the nightstand. The light from the screen cut through the dark like a blade. I blinked and read the message preview before it disappeared, can't wait to see you again. For a second, my chest felt hollow. My hand hovered over the phone, but I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. The truth was already in that one line. When the front door creaked open, I froze. Her heels clicked softly across the floor. Hey, she said quietly, as if nothing was wrong. You're awake? Where were you? My voice cracked even though I tried to sound calm. She blinked. What? I woke up and you weren't here. It's 2 a.m, Emily. I went out with friends after work, she said, sliding her purse onto the table. You're being weird. At 2 a.m? She sighed, rubbing her temples. Can we not do this? I'm tired. You're tired, I repeated. Then where's your phone? Her eyes flicked toward the nightstand, just for a second. Why? It buzzed. I saw a message. Her voice turned sharp. You went through my phone. No, I said quietly. I didn't have to. Her expression hardened. You're paranoid. It's embarrassing how insecure you are. That word, embarrassing, hit me harder than I expected. Insecure? I said. Because I'm asking where my girlfriend was in the middle of the night? Because you don't trust me, she shot back. It's exhausting, Jake. I can't breathe in this relationship. I laughed under my breath, disbelief bleeding through. You can't breathe? I'm the one trying to hold it together. See, she said, crossing her arms. This is exactly what I mean. Everything turns into drama. I'm not making drama, Emily. I'm asking for honesty. You always need something to be wrong. You twist things until I'm the bad guy. I stared at her, trying to find a trace of the person I fell in love with, the one who used to stay up late talking about everything and nothing, who once said she'd never lie to me. All I saw now was distance dressed as calm. Who was the message from? I asked finally. She looked away. It's none of your business. None of my business, I repeated. We live together. I pay the bills. You sleep beside me every night. And that's none of my business? She threw her hands up. God, you make it sound like I owe you something. I didn't respond. The silence stretched. The air felt heavier than it should. I'm done, she said suddenly. I can't keep doing this. Doing what? Walking on eggshells around your jealousy. I shook my head. You call this jealousy, I call it intuition. Whatever helps you sleep, she muttered, kicking off her shoes. I'm going to bed. Don't, I said. Don't act like I'm crazy. I'm not acting, she snapped. You're imagining things. Her words hit like quiet bullets. Gaslighting wrapped in calmness, she'd mastered it. I sat on the couch, hands clasped together, watching her move around the room like nothing happened. She hummed softly while taking off her earrings. Emily, I said again, quieter this time. If there's someone else, just tell me. She paused for a second, then turned with that same hollow smile. Go to sleep, Jake. That was it. 3 words, a final dismissal. When she walked into the bedroom, the light from her phone still glowed faintly on the nightstand. I stared at it, that tiny rectangle of light, and realized something. I wasn't afraid of what I'd find inside, I was afraid because I already knew. The rest of the night, I sat in the dark. No tears, no shouting. Just stillness. I could hear her breathing from the other room, steady and unconcerned. Around dawn, she came out again, hair messy, eyes half open. You didn't sleep? No. She sighed, annoyed. Jake, you can't keep doing this. It's not healthy. I looked up. Doing what? Believing in something that doesn't exist anymore? She rolled her eyes. You're being dramatic again. I almost laughed. No, I think I'm finally being honest. She grabbed her purse. I'm going to work. I nodded. Of course you are. Don't start. I'm not, I said. Just, try not to be out too late, okay? Her jaw tightened. I don't need your permission. I know, I whispered. That's the problem. When the door shut behind her, I looked around the apartment, the one I'd built for both of us. The couch, the pictures, the coffee mugs. All of it suddenly looked staged, like props in a play I didn't realize had ended months ago. Her phone's glow had faded now, leaving only darkness. But that was the moment it all made sense, the light had done its job. It showed me what I didn't want to see. And from that night on, I stopped waiting for her to come home. It started like any other morning, except for the heaviness I couldn't explain. She sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone, her coffee untouched on the table. I walked in quietly, waiting for her to look up. She didn't. Morning, I said softly. Hey, she mumbled, eyes still fixed on the screen. Something in her tone made my stomach twist. It was flat, the kind of tone you use when you've already decided something. You okay? I asked. She set the phone down slowly. We need to talk. My chest tightened. Those 4 words, they never lead anywhere good. About what? She looked at me with a kind of calm that scared me more than anger ever could. Ryan's coming to stay here for a week. I blinked. Ryan? Yeah. My ex. He's going through some stuff. Needs a place to crash. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it didn't make sense. You're not serious. It's just for a week, she said. He's got nowhere else to go. I stared at her, searching her face for a trace of irony. And where do I go? She shrugged. I don't know. You'll figure it out. You always do. That line cut through me sharper than any insult could. You always do. Like I was some backup plan, reliable, disposable. So, let me get this straight, I said, forcing the words out slowly. You want me to leave my own apartment, the one I pay for, so your ex can stay here? It's not your apartment, she said quietly. We share it. I laughed again, but it came out hollow. I pay the rent, the bills, the groceries. You barely even. She cut me off. Don't make it dramatic, Jake. Dramatic? My voice broke. You're asking me to leave for another man, and I'm the one being dramatic? He's just a friend, she said. I stared at her phone on the table. Right. Like those late-night texts were just friendly too. Her expression didn't change. I knew you'd bring that up. Because it matters, I said, louder than I meant to. You're asking me to walk out of the home I built for us, and you expect me to smile about it? She sighed like I was being unreasonable. It's only for a week. Don't make it bigger than it is. I looked around, the couch we picked together, the pictures on the wall, the blanket she always stole at night. All of it suddenly looked like props in a play that had already ended. So this is how it ends? I asked quietly. She tilted her head. What do you mean? You could have just said you didn't want me anymore, I said. You didn't have to do this. She picked up her phone again. You're overthinking everything. It's not that deep. Not that deep, I repeated, shaking my head. You know, I used to think I wasn't enough for you. Now I realize nothing ever would be. She looked up briefly. Can we not do this? I don't want to fight. I almost laughed again, but there was no humor left in me. You don't want to fight because you've already decided. You checked out months ago. She didn't deny it. She just looked at me with that same empty calm. So that's it? I asked. You're choosing him? I'm not choosing anyone, she said. I'm just doing what feels right for me. I took a slow breath. And what about what's right for me? She gave a small shrug. You'll move on. You always do. That phrase again. Like I was replaceable. Predictable. Forgettable. I stood there for a while, waiting for her to say something, anything that would make this make sense. She didn't. Fine, I said finally. I'll pack my stuff. Thank you, she said softly, as if I'd just done her a small favor. That word, thank you, was the quietest goodbye I'd ever heard. I walked to the bedroom and opened the closet. My hands moved automatically, folding shirts, grabbing socks, stuffing them into the suitcase I hadn't used since our last trip together. From the doorway, she said, you don't have to rush. He's not coming till tomorrow. I didn't look at her. I'd rather get it over with. She hesitated. Jake, don't make this weird. I zipped the suitcase. Too late for that. As I moved through the apartment, each item I touched felt heavier than it should have. The photo frames. The blanket. The coffee mug she never used anymore. You really don't see how wrong this is? I asked quietly. She sighed. I told you, it's temporary. No, I said, meeting her eyes for the first time in minutes. It's final. She frowned. What's that supposed to mean? It means, I said, you don't ask someone you love to leave so another man can take their place, even for a week. Her jaw tightened. You're twisting it. Am I? I asked. Or are you just pretending not to understand because it's easier that way? She rolled her eyes and went back to her phone. Believe whatever you want. I picked up my suitcase. That's the problem, Emily. I believed everything you said. She didn't respond. Just kept scrolling. The glow of her screen reflected off her face, calm, indifferent, already somewhere else. I stood by the door for a few seconds, waiting for her to say something, to stop me, to show she cared even a little. But she didn't even look up. Goodbye, I said finally. Bye, she murmured, eyes never leaving the screen. That was it. No tears. No scene. Just the quiet click of the door behind me. As I walked down the hall, my suitcase wheels echoing against the floor, I realized something, I wasn't leaving a home. I was walking out of an illusion I'd been keeping alive on my own. By the time I reached the street, the morning sun had started to rise. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel angry. Just empty. And maybe emptiness was the first step to being free. The first vibration woke me. Then another. And another. I reached for my phone, still half asleep, and the screen burned in the dark like a confession I hadn't asked for, 36 missed calls. All from her. I stared at the number for a while, feeling nothing. No anger. No sadness. Just quiet. The kind that sits in your chest like smoke after a fire. Jake's name flashed next. I answered. Bro, where the hell have you been? Trying to remember what peace feels like, I said. He exhaled. She's been calling me too. Asking where you are. Let her wonder. Jake hesitated. You sure you don't want to hear what happened? I rubbed my face. Not really. You'll want to. Then tell me. He took a breath. Ryan showed up. But not how she imagined. Stayed one night, then disappeared. No goodbye. No explanation. Just gone. She looked wrecked. I almost smiled. Guess her temporary guest had other plans. She's been blowing up everyone's phone trying to reach you. Says she messed up. She did, I said quietly. But not in a way a sorry can fix. Jake didn't respond for a moment. Then, softer, you okay? I looked around my new room, blank walls, one mattress, no pictures. For the first time in a while, yeah. She still wants to talk. Said she just needs closure. She can find it somewhere else. After we hung up, I sat there staring at my phone. 36 missed calls, 11 unread texts. The last one said, please come back. We need to talk. I typed nothing. Deleted everything. The silence after felt strange, like standing at the edge of something new but not knowing if it's freedom or loneliness waiting below. An hour later, the phone buzzed again. Her name. I watched it light up, then fade away. Then came the message, I didn't mean for things to happen this way. I just thought, maybe he'd changed. I whispered to myself, he did. He changed her, too. Another text followed, can we talk? Please. My thumb hovered over the screen, but I put the phone face down. I walked to the small mirror on the wall. The man staring back looked tired, but lighter. Like the noise had finally drained out of him. For months, I'd lived inside her moods, her silences, her little half-truths disguised as kindness. And now, there was nothing but stillness. The stillness felt good. It felt earned. Another buzz. Then another. I counted them this time, 4, 5, 6. Each one softer in my mind than the last. Jake texted again, you sure you're done with her? I replied, I was done the moment she told me to leave my own home. No more messages after that. Just the hum of my small fan and the sound of distant city noise outside the window. I lay back, staring at the ceiling. I thought about the apartment, our apartment. How I used to rush home to it. How every bill I paid was a promise I didn't realize was one-sided. Now it was just walls holding someone else's regret. Maybe she'd finally understand what silence sounds like when the other person stops trying. The phone lit again. Voicemail. I pressed play out of curiosity. Her voice cracked halfway through, hey. I know you don't want to hear from me. I don't blame you. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Ryan left. I thought I could handle it, but I can't. I miss you. I miss us. Then a pause. I keep walking past your toothbrush. It's still there. I can't throw it away. A shaky breath. Please, just call me back. I ended the message. For a second, my chest tightened. Not because I missed her, but because I remembered how much I used to. There's a difference. I whispered, you don't get to miss me now. I turned the phone off completely and sat by the window. The city lights looked distant, almost indifferent. Cars moved, people laughed somewhere below, life kept going, and for once, I felt part of it again. I poured myself some water, leaned back, and thought about how strange power feels when it's quiet. It doesn't roar. It just exists. Jake called again later that night. You really not gonna talk to her? No, I said. Not even for closure. I already got mine, I replied. He chuckled softly. What's that? The moment I stopped needing her to understand. He laughed. That's cold, man. No, I said. That's healing. We talked about work, random stuff, anything but her. When I hung up, I realized I hadn't said her name once. That felt like progress. Hours passed. The phone stayed dark. I didn't reach for it. I didn't wonder what she was thinking. Instead, I closed my eyes and listened, not to her voice in my head, not to memories replaying, but to the quiet hum of my own breathing. That was new. The silence that once used to hurt now felt like space, the kind where something new could grow. I smiled, almost laughing at how ironic it was. 36 missed calls. 36 chances to pull me back. But she never understood, some calls aren't missed. They're ignored on purpose. And as the night stretched thin and soft around me, I finally whispered to the dark, "You taught me what love isn't. And for that, I'll never answer again." I wasn't expecting anyone. The knock came soft, hesitant, the kind that carried guilt. When I opened the door, she stood there. Eyes red, lips trembling, fingers gripping the strap of her bag like it was keeping her upright. "Can I come in?" she asked. I stepped aside. "If you need to." She walked in slowly, like someone entering a memory they'd rather forget. The room was small, a single couch, a coffee table, nothing personal. I'd kept it that way for a reason. "You've lost weight," she said, glancing around. "And you've lost the right to notice." She flinched but didn't argue. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence stretched, heavy but calm. Finally, she said, "I need to tell you something." I figured. Her voice cracked. "Ryan, it wasn't what I thought. He made me feel wanted, then told me I was boring. Said I should have known better." I nodded slowly. "So now you know how it feels." Tears filled her eyes. "I deserve that." "Yeah," I said quietly. "You do." She sat down, elbows on her knees. "I kept thinking about the night you left. How calm you were. I expected yelling, something, but you just walked away. I was done fighting for a place I was paying for." Her eyes dropped. "I thought he was different. He made promises. Then he left the second I told him I missed you." I almost laughed, but I didn't. "Karma doesn't text back, huh?" She looked up sharply. "You hate me, don't you?" I shook my head. "No, then why are you so calm?" "Because hating you would mean you still matter." She covered her face with her hands, shoulders shaking. For a second, I almost reached out, old habits trying to resurrect themselves. But I stayed still. Some distances shouldn't be crossed again. She whispered, "I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I see it now. What I did. What I lost." "You didn't lose me," I said. "You threw me away." Her breath hitched. "You make it sound so final." "It is." She looked around the room again, maybe searching for some trace of us. There wasn't one. I'd erased everything. Not out of spite, out of survival. "You look different," she said finally. I stopped waiting for apologies, I replied. She nodded, wiping her eyes. "I can't fix what I broke. I never asked you to." She stood up slowly, her voice small. "Do you ever think about me?" "Sometimes," I said. "When I need a reminder of what not to settle for." That made her cry harder. But I didn't look away. I needed her to feel the honesty she'd always run from. "I thought I had all the time in the world," she said between tears. "But you moved on so fast." "It wasn't fast," I said. "It was overdue." She laughed weakly through the crying. "You always did know how to end things with words." "No," I said softly. "You ended it. I just accepted it." She reached out, her fingers hovering inches from my arm. "I wish I could take it back." "I don't," I said. "Because if you hadn't done it, I'd still be trying to fix something that was already broken." Her lips trembled. "You're colder than I remember." "No," I said. "I'm just not yours anymore." We stood there, quiet. The kind of quiet that used to mean comfort. Now it only meant truth. Finally, she whispered, "I'll go." I nodded. "That's best." She moved toward the door, then paused. "You really don't hate me?" "I don't," I said. "But I don't forgive you, either. I just don't carry it anymore." Her eyes softened, like she finally understood. "You found peace, didn't you?" I smiled faintly. "Yeah. took losing you to find it. She hesitated again, as if waiting for me to stop her, the way I used to. I didn't. Instead, I said, take care of yourself. She nodded, swallowed hard, and stepped outside. For a second, the hallway light framed her, the same woman I'd once built my world around, now just someone passing through it. Goodbye, she whispered. Goodbye, I said, and meant it. The door clicked shut. The sound was soft, almost gentle, but it echoed like a full stop. I leaned against it for a moment, exhaling everything I'd held in. No anger. No revenge. Just the quiet certainty that this was closure. I looked around the room, still small, still simple, but finally mine. She had her confessions. I had my peace. And as the silence settled again, I realized it wasn't empty this time. It was freedom. It's strange how silence can become a friend. I used to fear it, now I wake up to it, make coffee to it, and let it remind me that peace doesn't always mean loneliness. Jake called one morning. You're up early, he said. Trying to be productive, I replied, flipping through job listings. He laughed. That's new. You sound good. I'm getting there, I said. One slow, unexciting day at a time. The job came 2 weeks later, a modest position at a design firm. Not glamorous, but mine. The first paycheck felt like reclaiming a part of myself I didn't know I'd lost. At lunch, my coworker Mia smiled across the table. You always look deep in thought. You okay? Yeah, I said. Just learning how to enjoy ordinary days again. She grinned. That's the best kind of learning. In the evenings, I ran along the river, headphones in, mind clear. No calls to wait for, no tension building under my skin. Just air, motion, and me. Sometimes I'd catch myself smiling for no reason. That's when I knew healing wasn't dramatic, it was quiet. Jake called again one night. You seen her? He asked. I hesitated. No. Why? She posted a picture. With some quote about starting over. I laughed softly. Good for her. He paused. You mean that? Yeah, I said. I really do. After we hung up, I scrolled without meaning to, curiosity still a reflex. Her profile came up. She looked different. Brighter, maybe. But her smile felt practiced. For a second, I wondered if she was happy. Then I realized it didn't matter. I closed the app, leaned back, and looked at the sunrise through my window. The sky was streaked with gold, like it was reminding me that endings are just disguised beginnings. Later that day, Mia asked, You ever regret anything? I thought for a second. No, I said. Just learned from things I held on to too long. She nodded. Sounds like you've forgiven someone. I have, I said. For her? She asked. I smiled. For me. That night, I sat on my balcony with a cup of tea. The city hummed below, alive, indifferent, free. My phone buzzed once, a notification, not a message from her. I didn't check it. I didn't need to. For so long, I thought love meant sacrifice, giving until there was nothing left of me. But now I knew love should never cost your peace. It should add to your life, not take from it. Jake texted later, proud of you, man. You made it through. I typed back, I didn't make it through. I built something after. As I finished my tea, I snapped a picture of the horizon, a simple sunrise. I didn't post it anywhere. It wasn't for the world. It was for me, proof that I'd finally reached the other side of heartbreak. The air was cool, the city quiet, and my heart still. For the first time in a long time, that was enough. It was a quiet Sunday morning. The kind where time feels softer, slower. I was halfway through making breakfast when my phone buzzed on the counter. The city was quiet that night, washed in yellow streetlight and the soft hum of passing cars. I wasn't planning to drive near our old apartment, my hands just turned the wheel out of habit, maybe memory. When the building came into view, I slowed down. The windows were still glowing. Same curtains, same balcony plants I'd bought her. For a second, it almost looked like time hadn't moved. But I had. I parked across the street, engine humming low. What am I doing here? I muttered to myself. My phone buzzed. Jake again. You coming to the game? I typed back, maybe later. Just taking a drive. The night air carried that faint smell of rain on asphalt. I rolled the window down, staring up at the light in what used to be our living room. Somewhere up there, she was probably scrolling through her phone, maybe laughing, maybe crying. I didn't want to know. Look smaller than I remember, I said quietly. In my head, I could still hear her voice, that mix of warmth and distance. You overthink everything. Stop trying so hard. Ryan never made things this complicated. I exhaled slowly. The words used to sting. Now they just sounded like echoes fading down an empty hallway. A man walked out of the building holding takeout, his laughter floating into the night. For a moment, I imagined it was me a few years ago, the version of me that believed love could fix everything. Thank you for breaking me, I whispered, my voice barely above the engine's hum. You helped me find myself. I smiled at how strange it felt, to mean it. The phone buzzed again. This time it was a message from Jake. You okay? I typed, yeah. Just saying goodbye. He replied with a thumbs up emoji. Simple, like most good things are. I looked at the apartment one last time. I remembered the first night we moved in, her barefoot on the wooden floor, laughing as she unpacked boxes. This is home, she'd said. Back then, I thought home meant her. Now I understood it was me all along. I turned off the car lights and leaned back, letting the silence settle. It wasn't heavy anymore. It was peaceful. A car honked somewhere behind me, snapping me out of the memory. I started the engine again, glancing once more at those glowing windows. I didn't hate her. I didn't wish things had turned out differently. I just wished I'd learned sooner that love shouldn't cost your sense of self. As I pulled onto the main road, the city opened up, wide, endless, full of possibility. I rolled the window down further, letting the night wind rush against my face. It felt like freedom. The radio crackled to life, playing an old song we used to love. I almost laughed at the irony. Guess the universe has a sense of humor, I murmured. But this time, I didn't change the station. I let it play, every lyric washing over me without pain. Just memories. Red lights blurred into green, and the skyline rose ahead. For the first time in years, the road didn't remind me of where I'd been, it reminded me of where I was going. I passed a coffee shop on the corner, the same one where we first met. It looked smaller too. Everything from that chapter of my life seemed smaller now. Maybe that's what healing is, realizing the things that once consumed you no longer fit the size of who you've become. The wind carried my whisper out the window, soft but certain. I forgive you. And in forgiving her, I finally forgave myself, for staying too long, for believing too much, for loving too hard. I didn't look back again. The city lights stretched ahead like a new beginning, and for the first time, I didn't feel like I was leaving something behind. I was driving toward something better. My thoughts grew quiet, my heart lighter. Because sometimes closure isn't a conversation. It's the moment you stop waiting for an apology. I almost ignored it, but something made me glance over. Her name. Emily. My stomach tightened for a second, not out of pain, just recognition. A ghost brushing against the door of my mind. The message preview read, I still think about you sometimes. I hope you're okay. I stood there, eggs cooling in the pan, phone glowing like it wanted to test how far I'd come. Jake's voice echoed in my head, if she reaches out, don't fall for the nostalgia. He was right. Nostalgia was the most dangerous kind of lie, it only showed you the good parts. The phone buzzed again. I mean it. I miss talking to you. I picked it up, thumb hovering over the screen. For a second, I imagined replying, I'm fine, hope you are too. But I knew where that road led. My reflection in the black screen stared back at me. I didn't look angry, or bitter, just calm. Free. The phone buzzed once more. Can we meet? Just talk. I whispered to the empty kitchen, there's nothing left to say. I set the phone face down and took a deep breath. The silence that followed wasn't heavy like it used to be. It was clean. Honest. The door knocked suddenly. "Jake. You ready?" he asked. "For what?" I smiled. "Sunday hike, remember? Don't tell me you're backing out again." I laughed. "Not today. Let me grab my jacket." As we drove out of the city, Jake glanced at me. "You're quiet. Everything good?" "Yeah," I said. "Just got a message." "From her?" I nodded. "You reply?" "No," he smiled. "Proud of you, man." The air outside smelled like pine and rain. The world looked brand new. We stopped halfway up the trail, overlooking the valley. Jake sat on a rock, catching his breath. "You ever think about her?" "Sometimes," I said. "But not like before. It's like remembering a song you used to love, and realizing you don't need to play it anymore." He grinned. "That's poetic. You should write that down." I laughed. Maybe I just did. When I got home later, the phone still sat face down on the table. I picked it up, not to read, just to clear the notifications. The last message sat there, untouched, like a closed door. I pressed the lock button and set it down again. For once, ignoring her didn't feel like avoidance, it felt like peace. Outside, the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the walls gold. I thought about how far I'd come, from begging to be seen, to finally choosing myself without guilt. Jake texted, "Good hike today. You seemed lighter." I replied, "I am." I sat by the window, phone silent beside me. I didn't need closure from her anymore, I'd already given it to myself. The unread text stayed in my inbox, and I let it. It was no longer a wound, just a reminder that sometimes the strongest thing you can say is nothing at all. I leaned back, watching the first stars appear. For years, I thought love was about holding on. Now I understood, sometimes it's about knowing when to let go and not looking back. The phone buzzed one last time, another message. I didn't check it. I smiled, placed it face down, and whispered, "Goodbye." Not the kind you say out loud, the kind you feel deep down, and mean. And just like that, silence became my answer.